Hi everyone, your local hipster here to talk to you about the latest Burial compilation, tunes 2011 through 2019. Burial, what can I say about him that hasn't been said already? Released his debut self-titled album in 2006, but it was the year after 2006 where we saw his seminal sophomore release, Untrue. This album was very important for the underground at the time because it kickstarted a genre known as future garage, or at least made it more relevant. And the somber songs on this sophomore release were something that everyone could attach themselves to, get connected with. The atmospheric, melancholy sounds that were permeated on this record were replicated for years to come and still are to this day, more than a decade after that release. And as of yet, Burial has yet to follow that album up with another release. Well, another album, rather, because he has put out EPs here and there sporadically in the 2010s. And what we get on this compilation is actually all of those EPs put into a 2-hour-long piece of work. EPs ranging from the Street Halo EP, the Truant EP, Kindred, as well as Rival Dealer. Burial also released singles that are on this EP within the span of 2011 to 2019, Young Death, Night Market, Subtemple Beach Fire, and his most recent single, Claustro and State Forest. At first, it is easy to dismiss a compilation like this, as it is just titled Tunes 2011 to 2019, and you might assume that this is just a cobbled together piece of work slapped on in order of 2011 to 2019. This is not that. This is sequence. This has a flow to it. A very impressive one at that, because it seems like Burial and HYPERDUB really pieced together these songs in a very unique and interesting way. Because it seemed like Burial was working on these EPs to make them all come together on this compilation. But before I dive too deep into the songs on this thing, I have to kind of give you a rundown of how the structure of this compilation works. Throughout 2011 and to 2019, Burial released a bunch of ambient and future garage tracks that were kind of put together as EPs or singles. And we start off this thing with a bunch of ambient tracks, State Forest, Night Market, Young Death. I would say the weakest of the bunch has to be Subtemple and Beach Fires. The reason why is because these ambient pieces don't seem to have much in the way of depth. They're textureless, they don't have a lot of bite to them, they're very thin. The song State Forest, I think, is a great ambient piece that starts off this entire project because it's eerie, it has this nocturnal feel to it, and it feels like you're in the middle of a forest waiting for someone to help you. There's a very eerie vibe to this track, and I like that it is trying to continue that eeriness throughout this entire project. However, things kick back up into a more garage sound with the song Hiders, which include these very cavernous, somber pianos, which is backed by this rainfall sample. It's a very beautiful track, a very breathtaking and a haunting piece of work. And being one of the shortest songs on here at 4 minutes, it does use its time wisely. Then we get into the songs that are more garage oriented, the songs that are longer. Come Down With Us, Rival Dealer, Kindred, Ashtray Wasp, and Rough Sleeper. Truant as well. These make up a bulk of this compilation's runtime, as they are 11 minutes, 12 minutes, even 13 minutes long. And for the most part, these longer songs keep their runtime justified, as these more garagier tracks are filled with amazing progressions from one section to the next. Fast-paced drum work mixed in with this haunting ambience behind it just mixes perfectly on this compilation. And that's the one thing Burial knows what to do. He knows how to mix in ambient pieces with garage pieces, making these very sad, very downtrodden pieces of work. Songs that can resonate with people that are just sad or lonely. These songs make you feel like you're the only person within a 10-mile radius, in a good way, kind of ish. There are portions of this compilation that feel a little hypnotic. And while this isn't a bad thing, I think Burial uses a lot of these sounds in sometimes a little overwhelming way. This is a compilation of 2 hours of material. To be specific, this is almost 180 minutes laid out to 17 tracks. So if you're going to listen to this entire compilation, take your time, listen to it, put on a nice good pair of headsets, and just relax, take your time with it, do some other extracurricular activities while you're at it. I can tell you that it is a slog to start off with, but once you get into the garage tracks, this is a very interesting piece of work. This is a very interesting compilation. Even if it's just re-released material put onto a compilation, I think what Burial does is he pieces together these tracks in a very cohesive way. Very well textured, very dense. While there are some really good highlights on this thing, some of my favorite tracks land on this thing, there are moments where I have to kind of step back and think, this is a very long project. Does it justify its runtime? For the most part, yes. However, there are portions of this compilation that feel dragged down, that feel meandering in a way, especially on some of the ambient tracks on this thing too. Subtemple is a great example of that. And while I think there are some really great future garage tracks on this thing, there are some that just kind of feel tedious, like the 11-minute track Truant, which just kind of feels like it goes on for a really long time. Not a bad track, but one that gets a little cumbersome to listen to completely. And the last track on this compilation, NYC, kind of meanders as well. It ends the album off kind of riding this garage beat and this ambience. It's kind of funny because I think Burial took a while on these songs, but there are also some songs that I think he could have done more with. Because I feel like Burial can do so much with these songs, it makes me curious to know whether or not he put as much time or as much effort into these songs as he did with his debut album or his sophomore album. Not that they're bad. Again, this is a very fine compilation. However, I think there are some parts of this compilation that don't justify their runtime. And this compilation can easily meander and weave back and forth between these uninteresting passages of ambience or some kind of weak garage beats. There are moments on here that are very interesting, very unique, and I like the flow of this compilation too. And the feeling that this compilation gives me is just chilling, eeriness, and very well textured. And if you want to hear some eerie ambient tracks on this thing too, listen to this, because this is a very interesting compilation. However, it does take a while. It's 180 minutes. So a B is what I'm feeling on this compilation, but I'm curious to know, what are your thoughts on this compilation? Let me know down below. C'est la vie. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a like, comment, share, do whatever you want. Let me know how I can improve future videos down below. Let me know what I can do to make my videos any better. I'm always open to criticism. Hope to see you in the next video. Remember, this is only my opinion because music is subjective.